Almost. Major. Holy fucking shit, this is major! Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Almost Major, where we talk about the many major studios and the films they release. My name is Kevin Tudor. I'm here with Charlie Nash.
Hello.
And Bryden Doyle.
Hello.
We are currently on our 1980s New Line miniseries, and today we are covering The Prince of Pennsylvania from 1988. This opened limited on September 16th, 1988, in one theater. Nominated for 3 Indie Spirit Awards for Best First Feature and 2 for Best Supporting Actress for Amy Madigan and Bonnie Bedelia. The budget was $3.5 million. Opening weekend made $3,174, and domestic and overall gross of $5,415. Top 5 films that weekend. This is the same weekend as Tougher Than Leather, so we have A Fish Called Wanda, Die Hard, Moon Over Parador, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Mace. I almost put way too much stuff. The Dream Meister, you know, he gets into your dreams and he does stuff.
You
know
have
that
to
one?
mace him. That's what I was thinking.
What's your favorite horror movie, Grandpa? Oh, the one with what's his name? Fred Krueger. I like the Fred Krueger guy. He gets into your dreams, but he actually gets you in real life.
That just makes it sound like, oh, if you see Freddy Krueger in your dreams, just mace him, and you'll wake up. You just have a can of mace.
I mean, he's already burnt. What is mace gonna do to that man?
Exactly.
Be like, I gotta remember to dream about mace a lot. Gotta remember that, and then it'll be in my dreams.
Do you think?
But I always dream about. I'm in a boiler room for some reason. I hate that.
My favorite character in Star Wars is Mace Windu. My favorite song is "Feel So Good" by Mace. You know.
Also, considering this movie came out the same weekend as Die Hard, do you think that Bonnie Bedelia, they were like, oh, congrats about Die Hard, shame about that other movie, and she was like, that's okay.
No, they were just like, congrats on your new movie. Oh yeah, it was great working with Fred Ward and Keanu Reeves. Like, who the fuck were they in Die Hard? Where am I at? Oh yeah, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit rounds out the 5.
Which you have not seen, right?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
No, I have not.
Crazy to me that you haven't seen that. I have Orange County, you have Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Bryden has Lord of the Rings.
Let's rank those. He has 3 movies. In their extended cut are like, I don't know, anywhere between like 4 and 19 hours. You have a 80-minute comedy, and then I have a 2 hour Zemeckis movie.
Also, that would be really funny if it's like, well, I'd rank the theatrical cut of Return of the King first, and then Orange County, and then the extended cut of The Two Towers, then the theatrical cut of Two Towers.
Be like, on a rewatch Orange County? Who knows? It might go up, it might go down.
Also, did I agree to watch all 3 Lord of the Rings movies? I'll watch 1 at the minimum. 1 to start out with, just to see how I like it, just a taste.
That would be funny if you just watched like The Two Towers for like, it's just like, I just decided to go with this one.
Like, how did we get here? What's going on? They keep talking about some ring. What's that about? Number 1 song of the U.S. this week is "Sweet Child of Mine" by Guns N' Roses. And number 1 song in Canada this week is "Perfect World" by Huey Lewis and the News. Plot description from Google: Rupert, played by Keanu Reeves, a loudmouth punk rocker with a taste for the intellectual, is bored stiff and on the verge of falling out of his senior year of high school. But when Marshita is Rupert, meets drive-in theater operator Carla Headley, played by Amy Madigan, he finds a mentor who has much to teach him. This is...
I mean, he's already known her, it seems, like, when they first have their scene.
For a while.
Yeah.
And an unlikely friendship results. Soon the two decide to leave their small town. To raise money, Rupert and Carla resolve to abduct Rupert's father, Gary, played by Fred Ward, and hold him for ransom, which I did not know about going into this movie. And I was like, wait, this is what it's about? I thought it was just Keanu Reeves being like, shut up, Dad, you don't understand.
I went and checked. It's like 43 minutes in that they hatched a plan. But this is like not a long movie, so it's kind of weird to introduce it.
Well, like nothing,
90 minutes.
Well, nothing happens for the first 40 minutes except a few, like, scenes take turns where you're like, oh, Jesus. And then, like, is this a comedy? Like, what? And then, yeah. Like,
I gotta get my long-haired freak of a son a job. And I was just like, there's got to be a plot somewhere. And he's just like, how about we kidnap my dad? And then, yeah, that happens.
I mean, also, you would never guess what this movie's about from the poster, which is kind of an animated Keanu Reeves with that ridiculous hairdo with a crown, like, trapping him, like, around his arms. And then they were just like, just put the 3 supporting characters' floating heads next to him. I don't know. Like...
Have you seen the DVD cover where it's a close-up of him being like,
Yes, yeah,
it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it's very unflattering, to put it mildly.
Yeah, because the poster for this, it has 2 quotes. I don't know from who, because the one on Wikipedia is really low quality, but when I post it, I'll probably find a bigger one. A gem of independent filmmaking and intelligent and inventive.
Yeah. He does have the face. He kind of has that smirk that like Macaulay Culkin gives after he like throws a brick at like in Home Alone.
He has the same face after he drops an entire dummy onto the highway in The Good Son.
Now, okay, if this movie, if you had Keanu Reeves with this costume and this hairdo playing Macaulay Culkin's character in The Good Son, like he's supposed to be 10 years old, and I would watch that in a heartbeat.
He just like goes and spies on his mom cheating on her dad, and he's just like, you know what I want to do? Fucking cause it like a 42 car pileup. That would kick ass.
It's like a Clifford scenario.
Written and directed by Ron Nicewainer, and all I have to say is that Ron Nicewainer sounds like if Scooby-Doo tried to say nice wiener.
No, I as soon as you said it out loud, I was like, the poor guy probably got like bullied all throughout elementary school and middle school for that name. Oh, God.
Hey, Ron. Yeah, what's up? Nice wiener.
We're very mature on this podcast.
He only directed 2 other movies, Why Stop Now in 2012 and a dog called She's the Best Thing in It in 2015.
And Bryden watched Why Stop Now, I believe, right?
I did. I watched that after.
You got about halfway through it and you were just like, I should turn this off. And then you were just like, well, why stop now?
I actually kind of liked that movie. It's like all over the. It's kind of this movie, like again, where it's like it's got like scenes where it's like, oh, it's being kind of like hijink scene or anything, where it's like, you know, Jesse Eisenberg has to like broker a deal between Paul Calderone and Tracy Morgan. You know, the translation kind of like, you know, he has to translate things that he doesn't want to translate. But then there's also scenes where he's like, you know, unleashing like years of pent up anger at his mom, who's like an addict and everything, played by Melissa Leo. He's like saying, "You are ruining my life," and then everything like, and it's like kind of like heavy and everything, and it's, but like there is like a real like sweetness and affection for his characters, and like, you know, there is like a sense of place in that movie that like feels like a little more well, not quite as much and everything, but like, you know, like there is like a more like a sense of history and everything, where it's like revealed like, oh, Tracy Morgan, like who's like the local drug dealer that Melissa Leo goes to, he went to the same high school as like Jesse Eisenberg's character. Ebert made a point in that movie about how like he likes kind of like in his review of Why Stop Now, he's just like, oh, it's really kind of like touching how like there is like kind of like this shared history between all the characters, and Eisenberg and Leo are really good in it too. But yeah.
This has the most Rorschach test poster because it really is just a white background of Jesse Eisenberg, Melissa Leo, and Tracy Morgan just standing next to each other with the words "Why Stop Now" above them. I'm like, this movie could literally be anything. Like, that does not provide any commentary at all.
Yeah, it's got like, yeah, and the trailer does really kind of try to play up like the comedic aspect of it when it's like kind of a little more understated, I would say. Although there are like a couple of scenes where it's like, you know, Jesse Eisenberg like runs through like a Civil War reenactment to like, you know, profess the love that he feels for this girl that he goes to his school and everything. And it's another movie kind of like Prince of Pennsylvania, also like, you know, where you get to the ending and you're like, well, that's just like a big old shrug. Like, I don't feel anything about this. So Why Stop Now I think like has like 2 scenes where it's like, you could have just edited this like 2 scenes earlier and it would have been much better. Now it just feels like kind of like an afterthought. But I don't know. I again, kind of uneven, but like it is like, I do like it better than Prince of Pennsylvania. He also co-directed that with Nicewainer directed it with someone named like Phil Dorling, I think, who I
just looked up. Who the only other movie Phil Dorling has directed is a movie called Kill the Boyfriend.
Ooh,
gotta kill him, get his ass out of here. And also, they were gonna end Why Stop Now earlier, but somebody was just like, I don't know, why stop now?
Jesus.
I did it twice. Writing wise, Nicewainer. Prior to the screenplay for Smithereens, listen to our episode. Uncredited writer for Swing Shift in 1984. After this, Love Hurts in 1990. Nominated for Philadelphia. My bad. Too many P's. Philadelphia in 1993. The Painted Veil in 2006. And 9 episodes of Homeland.
And Ray Donovan, he also worked on that too. I saw. Yeah.
He was in the Showtime universe. Okay. starring Fred Ward as Gary Marchetta. Prior to this, Escape from Alcatraz 1979, Carney in 1980, Southern Comfort in 1981, The Right Stuff and Silkwood in 1983, Swing Shift in 1984, Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins in 1985, which Dan Mecca hit me to that, and I was like, what is that? I've never heard of that. And there's where it's like he's like an action star and there's like people in yellow face. But after this, Tremors, Henry and June, and Miami Blues in 1990, The Player and Bob Roberts in 1992, Shortcuts in 1993. Here's from real classics. Road Trip in 2000, and then BAFTA nominated and winning films, Joe Dirt and Corky Romano in 2001. Bandit in 2002. I still gotta watch that garbage. 30 Minutes or Less in 2011, which is just a dire film, and Two Guns in 2013.
He's so good in Miami Blues. I just want to give a shout out to him in that very underappreciated movie.
Is so good at Joe Dirt. As Joe Dirt's dad, so good. I'm not even joking.
I was also just gonna mention, I just because I just released this new 4K of it. He's very good in the Walter Hill film Southern Comfort.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's like one of the best movies I've watched for the first time this year. It's so good.
It's so good. Did we
How's
mention
that stack
that
up
one?
to Corky Romano? Yes, we did.
Oh, whoops, sorry.
I think also one of his last roles too is I think he plays Colin Farrell's dad on the second season of True Detective, if I'm not mistaken. Which is just
Okay.
like, I mean, I feel like he didn't act as much in his later years before he passed away, but like yeah, that's just like interesting. I forgot that he was in Two Guns for like one scene. I've seen that movie twice.
Oh,
One for each
gun.
Yeah.
Read my mind.
That movie is also bad.
Yes.
I keep forgetting that existed.
There's two guns. There's two of them. And they actually like have chemistry, but that movie just sucks.
Yeah, the dialogue just is wretched, and like there's like three different villains. Bill Paxton's one of them though, and that's cool.
If you have Bill Paxton as a villain, you don't need two other villains. You just already have Bill Paxton.
3 villains, 2 guns, one brotherhood.
Yeah, is that the plot of the movie? Oh my god, there's 3 bad guys and we only have 2 guns. What are we gonna do?
Shit. Fuck.
If only there was a place we could buy another gun.
We can't change the title of the movie. I mean, the sequel, it had to be called 3 Guns, right? If they did it, it'd be 3 Guns. Or if it was just 2 Guns 2.
2.5 guns.
2 Guns 2 is so funny.
And it's Roman numerals, so it looks like a fucking Xbox gamer tag.
Or
2 guns squared.
2 Guns 2, or 22 guns and then 222 guns. I don't know.
Well, if it's 22 guns, then you gotta get Green Day for the score. Although that's 21 guns. That wouldn't work.
That'd be like the ultimate cash grab. It's like, oh, we're gonna get so much fucking money just by changing one word in this song.
Come on. I know you're doing your fucking rock opera fucking Billy Joel, but just 22 guns. It would be so much better.
What's that? Did any of you ever see that Portlandia sketch where they had Miranda July? It was Miranda July and Carrie Brownstein, where it was 2 girls, 2 shirts, and they only have a store where they sell 2 shirts.
Yeah.
2 girls, 2 guns. I don't know.
2 girls,
like
2
to
guns
get
in a
a
pizza
shot.
place.
I would like to get a shotgun. Too bad. This is all we got. Really?
Yeah.
You got a rifle or anything? No, this is all we got. This is all we got.
I also like the joke in that sketch where they're just like, I think maybe we need more items, and Miranda July is just like, oh, well, when I was in New York, the only place that had like a lot of items was like Costco.
You're like, this is all we got. Just like my man in Joe Dirt. He only sells snakes and sparklers. That's right.
Is Joe Dirt going to be an intermission episode?
Joe Dirt's great. Okay? It's a great film.
I've never seen it.
What about Joe Dirt 2?
Doesn't exist.
Well, that's gonna be the intermission for the next one.
None of us have crackles.
What about Joe Dirt 2 Guns?
Joe Dirt, 2 guns. I'm gonna kill Kid Rock with 2 guns. All right, well, I just want to talk about Joe Dirt now. Keanu Reeves as Rupert Marchetta. Prior to this, I'm going to go for more obscure or lesser-known movies. We got River's Edge in 1986. What's funny about Rupert?
No, Rupert Marchetta sounds like an appetizer. It sounds like he'd order that at a restaurant.
I'll have the Rupert Son Marchetta.
Yeah. Or like a bottle of wine or something. Would you like to try the Marchetta?
Honey, are you all right? You barely touched your Rupert Marchetta. River's Edge in 1986, an ABC Saturday night movie called Under the Influence, starring Andy Griffith about an alcoholic parent. It's on YouTube, and I downloaded it. Seems interesting. Another 86 TV movie called Babes in Toyland, also starring Drew Barrymore. Permanent Record in 1988. After this, I Love You to Death in 1990. Did the voice of Ted for a 13-episode animated show, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures in 1990.
I keep forgetting they had an animated show.
I thought you were going to say, I keep forgetting he was in Bill and Ted. We got Alex Winter
Oh my god, he's Ted!
Fucking shit, what's his name? Yeah. Be like, you remember Alex Winter but not Keanu Reeves? He's like, yeah, he's a great Twitter presence.
I remember Socrates. Yeah.
We'll get to that in a sec, actually. He plays a voice in Freaked in 1993. Fantastic film.
Very funny.
The Last Time I Committed Suicide in 1997, which is just, that's a top tier post Tarantino. We're just going to name a movie that. Ellie Parker in 2005 and The Whole Truth in 2016. Bonnie Bedelia as Pam Marchetta. That's the wine you get with the meal. Prior to this, They Shoot Horses, Don't They in 1969. Salem's Lot in 79. Die Hard 1988. After this, Fat Man and Little Boy in 1989. Die Hard 2 and Presumed Innocence in 1990.
Great and Presumed Innocence.
Really? Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Yeah. Needful Things in 1993. Speechless in 1994. The remake of Gloria in 1999. And 103 episodes of Parenthood.
That's a lot of parenthood.
It's a lot.
Well, once you're in, you're in for life.
I didn't know that Fat Man and Little Boy is about Oppenheimer.
Yeah, it's yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I've heard it's not great, but I'd still like to see it because it's Paul Newman, John Cusack, and other people. Yeah.
Do you? That must have been weird conversations. Like, what are you doing on Friday night? Oh, I'm gonna go see Fat Man and Little Boy. Just hear that, and you can imagine people hearing that out of context, being like, "Excuse me."
No, it's about a bomb. What?
Say it to the tune of Chris Farley and Tommy Boy. Fat man and little boy.
Gonna go watch that movie. What's it called? Fat Man and Little Boy? You mean Tommy Boy? Yeah. Amy Madigan as Carly Headley. Prior to this, Love Letters in 1983, Streets of Fire in 1984. Nominated for an Oscar for Twice in a Lifetime in 1985. After this, Field of Dreams and a TV movie called Roe vs. Wade, also starring Holly Hunter. Need to watch that. And Uncle Buck, all in 1989. The Dark Half in 1993. Pollock in 2000. The Laramie Project in 2002. The Ranch 2004. Gone Baby Gone in 2007. And, of course, Antlers in 2021.
Shitty movies.
I'm going to be watching that garbage.
Great. I think she's the MVP of this movie, and she is an actress that whenever she shows up, I'm always like, oh, right, Amy Madigan. She rules. Like,
yeah.
She's so good at Streets of Fire. I love just like her little her moxie throughout that whole thing. Like, you know, she's so badass in that.
Yes, she is.
Trivia. I got a few things, and then Brian, you got some things. Ron Nicewainer spent 4 years writing the script before Variety announced its acquisition by New Line in September 1987 for $3.5 million. Premiered at the Toronto Festival of Festivals, which is what TIFF was called, prior to its September 16th, 1988 opening in New York City. The film was released in Los Angeles 2 weeks later, leading to openings in 50 to 100 additional theaters, which means the box office reports that I just talked about are lacking because there's no way it made $5,000 in 100 theaters. There's no way. So who knows how much it made and how many theaters it went to. That's great. Production was completed under budget and within the 35-day shooting schedule and filmed entirely in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Kind of an IMDb ass trivia fact. Fred Ward and Keanu Reeves would later both work in Chain Reaction together. Sure.
Yeah. Fred Ward's the cop investigating the murders that he thinks Reeves is committing. I like that movie.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier tonight. I think it was off mic, but still, that's so
it
funny.
was. Yeah.
We have a Chain Reaction talking about Chain Reaction. It's like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, but it's like, how can you tie somebody to Chain Reaction? It's based on Nicewainer's unpublished novel of the same name. Fred Ward is first billed, while Keanu Reeves had the bigger role and is the titular role, mainly because we lived in a world where the King Fred Ward was more well known than Keanu Reeves. kind of bottom of the barrel IMDb trivia. At the school dance scene, Keanu Reeves' character explains how nobody liked Socrates because he was different. Keanu would later kidnap Socrates for a school report a couple of years later in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I love that they also say like Keanu Reeves, like making it sound like Keanu Reeves actually did the kidnapping of Socrates, like
as if this was a result. If this was like something that needed to happen within his career.
I got him. Now what's gonna happen? You're gonna be in Sweet November. Fine. Bryden, what else do you got?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned the Independent Spirit Awards nominations because it was nominated for Best Supporting Female. That sounds weird. No, I think that was how it was written on the website. But Amy Madigan.
That's how it was written too, and I was just like, "What? Best Supporting Actress? Come on now."
Yeah, Jesus.
Amy Madigan and Bonnie Bedelia, like you said, were the nominated actresses, but they lost to Rosanna DeSoto in Stand and Deliver, which I've never seen, but is on my watch list.
Yeah.
The other nominees included Debbie Harry in Hairspray, which we covered on our
Nice.
previously.
Yeah.
And Patty Yasutaki in The Wash. Which I don't know about, actually. I should look that up later on my own time. It was also nominated for Best First Feature. It lost to Mystic Pizza, which I think is a lovely little movie. And the other nominees included Border Radio, which I think is Allison Anders' first movie, The Chocolate War by Keith Gordon, which I saw on VHS years ago as a kid, and The Wash, again. And then it was also nominated for some awards at the Deauville Film Festival in France. It was nominated for the Critics Award. The other nominees included Christopher Kane's Young Guns, Nicholas Roeg's Trek 29, Mark Rezica's South of Reno, William Friedkin's Rampage, which I just caught up with recently. Wasn't a huge fan of that. And Stephen Kovacs' 68, but the winner was a movie called Patty Rocks by David Burton Morris, which I looked up today. I'd never heard of it before. It has Chris Mulkey in it, though, who plays the first alien that we meet in The Hidden, who's like goes on like the bank robbery.
Oh, yeah.
Really like him, so I added it to my watch list. It sounds like it could be good.
You mentioned Mystic Pizza. I have never seen Mystic Pizza, but I have been to Mystic, Connecticut and eaten at the pizza place that was inspired.
It's not the fucking same. Watch the damn movie.
Well,
is it good shit?
Well, regardless, holy shit. If you guys ever had pizza from Connecticut, it lives up to the fucking hype.
Oh,
Not recently, no.
Oh my god. Some of the best pizza I've ever had in my life. I mean, maybe we have listeners in Connecticut. Like, this is like Connecticut's
If
not.
you're in Connecticut and like eating pizza, sound off in the comments.
Well, like, Connecticut gets a lot of shit, I will say. I mean, it's not one of the more popular states in New England, but their pizza, holy fuck. Oh my god.
and their hauntings? Oh my goodness. No,
Their hauntings.
but no, that's lovely. If I'm ever in Connecticut, I'll be sure to try their pizza. That's great.
It's so good.
And Mystic Pizza's fun. Really good. It really helps that the performers are all wonderful in it. I had some stuff about Nice Wayne or two. It's interesting how like this movie. So the movie's set in Pittsburgh, and it's like set in like the coal mining town. Nice Wayne's talked about how like he grew up in like in a mining town, and he grew up closeted too. He eventually came out when he was in university. It sounds like. And how old is he now? He's like gonna be 68, I think. So like he was growing up like he really was like kind of like growing up in the time of like AIDS and stuff like that, and that hit very close to him. I mean, he talks about how Philadelphia, in one of his interviews they did with Edge Media back in 2015 when he was promoting Freeheld. Anyone remember that movie when which he wrote? Yeah, he talked about how that movie, how Philadelphia was inspired by, I think his nephew was diagnosed with AIDS, and that really hit close to him. So he wanted to, terrible. With Prince of Pennsylvania, he talks about like, growing up. There was an essay that he wrote for The Advocate that was republished in 2006, but it was written in 2003 around the time that a movie called Soldier's Girl that he wrote that was playing on TV at the time. I believe it's about a soldier who was having a relationship with a transgender woman who was, and then that soldier was then killed in a hate crime. He talked about how he mentions Pennsylvania very, very briefly. He says that because he talks about how it was tough like growing up as a he did eventually come out of the closet and everything, but he was still like kind of told like kind of encouraged, I think, to make stuff more marketable by writing about straight people. Like he says that he was in one of the stories that he tells us about. He says, in film school, a screenwriting teacher barred me from reading aloud my gay-themed script. Although I protested, the seeds of compromise were sown. My second script told the story of a wedding with no gay characters and not even a wisecracking caterer. And he told a story about how in the mid-1980s, during the teen film craze, I developed a script at Fox about a gay teenage boy and his best friend, a straight girl, presaging will increase by a decade. The project was abandoned after 3 drafts. I heard a rumor that a junior executive had campaigned to keep the storyline alive, only dropping the gay aspect. This executive, by the way, is gay. And then he mentions Prince of Pennsylvania. This is the interesting part. He says, it features Keanu Reeves battling his coal miner father. The character is ostensibly straight but artistic and sensitive. This is what is known as subtext. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really get any subtext in the movie.
No.
Like, really, like, yeah, and again, like, it's because the character's not very well fleshed out and everything, but, like, it's, like, revealed, like, an hour, and it's like, wait, he likes to write poetry, I guess. Like, that's kind of like the one thing that shows he's different. But like,
he's also sleeping with women in this movie. I mean, that's the other thing.
Look, I know people like sometimes take a while to find their identities and stuff like that.
But, I was one of them. But,
sure, yeah. But the movie, look, I'm not trying to dunk on Nice Rainer too much here and everything, but like, I just didn't get that in the movie and everything. I think because the movie's not really. Even though the performers try their best, I don't really think these characters are especially well thought out. Yeah, the movie didn't get very good reviews. I think every review I found was pretty negative. Although I feel like people were saying that they liked the characters and just hated that, like, the contrived turn that the movie takes with, like, the kidnappings plot. Like, Roger Ebert gave it, like, 1.5 stars. The movie doesn't really have a very good reputation now. On Vulture, Tim Gerson and Will Leach's movie ranking of Keanu Reeves' movie performances. Out of 45 movies on the list, Prince of Pennsylvania was 24. And then Ayanna Murray wrote a ranking of his movies for GQ back in 2019, and there were 53 movies on that list, and Prince of Pennsylvania was 37. And both the Vulture and GQ list make note of Reeves having terrible hair in this movie, with like the sort of shaved head on the side that has like a silver streak and like the sort of like long hair in the back. It's not a great haircut.
Get his ass.
We're supposed to like this guy? This dude sucks. Look at his hair.
Who gets a haircut at a fucking... Where's it at that he gets a haircut?
No,
it's like a junkyard?
Yeah, where the motorcycle gang hangs out. And that's what another group of characters in the movie just kind of forgets about after a while. It's also interesting...
Junkyard-ass haircut.
And also, I'm glad you mentioned River's Edge, because that was the movie that Nice Rainer cast Reeves in. He saw him in that movie and cast him in Prince of Pennsylvania. He said, I saw him in constant... This is from a LA Times story back in 1988 by Leonard Clady. Nice Rainer said about Reeves, I saw him in constant emotion. He's like a Chinese menu. He'll give you a half dozen different readings, but the real Keanu is a lot like the character in the film, despite his refusal to see any resemblance. And then Reeves remains unconvinced, insisting the general nobility of his screen presence is pure coincidence. As people get to know me better, I'll start to get the sleazier roles. And yeah, that's true. I mean, like, it is interesting to think about how he is kind of playing, like, sweethearts in, like, this sort of early part of his career. I mean, River's Edge, I think, like, he's supposed to be kind of the more... I think he's even described in this LA Times article as, like, the more sensitive of the characters in the movie, who are, like, kind of, like, desensitized. And then Bill and Ted, he's kind of, like, a lovable goofball. He's that in this movie for sure. And then Parenthood, he's kind of a goofball who steps up in the end. But then, like, yeah, like, now, like, 30 years later, he's playing, like, cold-blooded killers like John Wick and, like, sleazeballs like the hotel manager and Neon Demon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, like, it's nice to see him, like, at this point in his career where he's still, like, kind of finding his presence as an actor. Also, I mentioned this to Kevin before we started recording. It's just also weird to see how people wrote about actresses at the time. I mean, you kind of get the sense of, like, with that Independent Spirit Awards, I'm like, best supporting female and everything. Like, that's that weird phrase. It's like, really? You can't think of any other way to refer to women? But Hal Hinson's review of the movie for the Washington Post has this line, which I think is just, like, a baffling way to, like, it sounds like a come on, but also, like, overly judgmental. He says about the Bonnie Bedelia character, he says, his mother, played by Bonnie Bedelia, who has a sly, sexy way with her line readings, is looser and at least lends a moral support, but she demonstrates that she too is a corrupt, undependable adult by cheating on her husband with his best friend. That sounds like kind of like the really, like, judgmental, like, Google plot descriptions that we'll sometimes read about the movies, where it'll just be like, the movie is about this guy and then this fucking piece of shit or whatever. It's not quite written like that.
Yeah, but she's also getting slapped around.
Like, I know, yeah, which, like, we'll get to that later in the movie. But yeah, no, I'm sympathetic to her character, and Kevin and I think we were talking before you came back to the recording, how, like, the way the movie resolves that relationship is just, like, totally unearned.
Not good.
I don't know. That's there just frankly isn't a lot of writing about this movie because doesn't really have a very good reputation. There's a lot of stuff where it's like Nice Rainer talking about his career, but, like, mostly he talks about, like, like the more notable films he made, like Philadelphia, or he I guess one of his more recent things is he wrote a show called The Fellow Travelers with Matt Bomer, which is about two closeted men having a relationship during the McCarthy era.
I do want to watch that show. Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound kind of interesting. There's also, I saw there was an old article from TIFF in 1988 where this movie played, and I guess Keanu Reeves, in this Toronto Star article, he had a cold while he was promoting the movie, and there's a picture of him like napping on a couch or trying to nap on a couch while promoting the movie, which is very sweet. But yeah, anyways, that's I think enough sort of niche material on my part. I hope that was interesting.
Yeah.
A loving home.
Did I give you a house? Did I give you a VCR?
I didn't want a VCR!
A nurturing mother.
Hello, Rupert.
I won't be home for supper.
Good idea.
A knowing father.
Don't you think it's weird, Pam, to have your son live in a garage?
You used to have a wild side. Sometimes I feel like I married Jimi Hendrix and he turned into Oliver North.
A friendly neighbor.
You're the only person in the world I halfway trust.
Boy, he's skating on thin ice.
A wholesome and supportive community.
These are some of my friends.
Excuse me, you can't come in unless you're dressed from Dallas or Dynasty.
Even with all these advantages,
Starting a new job today.
some kids are never satisfied.
I kidnapped Dad. Man, this kid's nuts.
What? Take 2 of these, put them in his coffee.
Two's enough?
Honey, these ain't NutraSweet.
I figured the lawyers would let you sell his land if you had a good reason. Okay, let's go.
You're not thinking of going along with this, are you?
Let me think.
Rupert? Hello, Dad.
Fred Ward, Keanu Reeves, Bonnie Bedelia, Amy Madigan, the Prince of Pennsylvania.
So why is he in charge of everything? Because he's the king?
There's nothing wrong with this American dream that a little felony couldn't cure.
Initial thoughts. I will go first and say that this movie is what is this? I don't think it's that good, but it passed the time and it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. It was just perfectly passable. I mean, if they didn't kidnap Fred Ward, I would have been like, this is pretty fucking boring, man. But then that happens, and I think I was just more so just like, wait, hang on, what? Huh? What? Like, you're gonna kidnap your dad for the money that he's gonna make for the land he owns so that you can go, like, a state over. Okay. Or is it a state over? Where are they trying to go again? California. Okay. Well, yeah, a few states away. But, yeah. Keanu Reeves is pretty not good in this, but Fred Ward is pretty fantastic because it's Fred Ward, so I'm always here for that. Amy Madigan's great because it's Amy Madigan. She's always great. I will say that I've never seen a man get so upset over a VCR, even though that's in a very serious scene.
It was a very strange moment.
Yeah. Didn't I buy you a VCR? She's like, I want the fucking VCR, man.
That makes me think there's an episode of How I Met Your Mother where Neil Patrick Harris, this is like just the character being creepy and everything. He finds out that his friends Jason Segel and Allison Hannigan have like a sex tape that they've made, and he wants to watch it, and they try to like. It's creepy, but like they try to dissuade him from watching it by like describing it in the most disgusting way possible, and it's on a tape, and then he just like picks up the VCR and throws it to the ground, and then Josh Rad just like, Barney, that was my VCR, and then Neil Patrick Harris says like, Ted, it was a VCR, and then like that's like, but yeah,
and they were just like, wait, you have a sex tape? And my man Jason Segel's like, yeah. And then he watches it, he's like, wait, that's Cameron Diaz, you fucking liar. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that was, I think it predated that. And then he was like, wait a minute.
Maybe have more to talk about when we talk about the plot, but it passes the time, man. Is it a gem of independent filmmaking? I would say not. Is it intelligent and inventive? No. But you know what? Whatever. At the end of the day, could you have watched something better? Yeah, but I don't know. Brighton, initial thoughts?
Sure. Yeah, I didn't think this was especially good too. I feel like it's like the kind of movie where like there's like a handful of good scenes, but then also a lot of scenes that just don't really add up to much. I think especially because the character relationships, they kind of just like drop in and out of the movie. Like I think the J.O. Sanders cop character who is like has a relationship with Amy Madigan is like his evolution at the end of the movie just like does not work at all. Even though I think Sanders is like a very good actor, I think he like does his best to try to sell it. I think his scene with Amy Madigan where they're talking through the jail cell is like really tenderly performed. I don't think the movie's done enough work to like get him to that point where he's treating her like that, especially because he's being super shitty to her in the movie where he's like, you know, taking her kid away and like, you know, trying to like get her arrested for pot and everything. And he says it like it's kind of his fault too how he performs it. He says like, man, I hate this job. And it's like, you don't really give that impression that you're that conflicted about this. Like you're saying it kind of like a pithy sort of catchphrase. So it doesn't really work. And then like the fact that she stays with him at the end, I'm like, I don't really believe her. Like she loves him that much. Like it doesn't work.
Dude, it makes no fucking sense why they're together at the end.
Yeah, it just deflates. It doesn't really make it. It's kind of like the movie itself shrugs and was just like, I guess they'll just stay this way. Like,
yeah, it's like the development like happened off screen. Like and I think Reeves he's likable on this, but like again, I don't think he really has much of a character for like his sort of energy to like really like kind of like have build to anything. Like he just kind of is like, I don't think there's like a really good handle on like what maybe like I think it's partly his fault, but also like the movie's fault that like there's not really much of a handle on this character and everything, where he is like kind of like a goofball and everything in one scene. Like that's he's like rebellious in the sense that he makes like cracks a lot of jokes and doesn't take anything seriously, and then there are other scenes where he's like super like angsty and like and it's like, and look, I get teenagers like have like wide ranges of emotions, but it's not really clear what kind of rebel he is, other besides like, you know, getting weird haircuts and stuff like that. I don't think the tone switches. Like I said, I mentioned this with Why Stop Now, how that movie kind of struggles with its tone later. This movie really kind of does that, where like it will be like, you know, a scene of like domestic violence between Fred Ward and Bonnie Bedelia, but then there's like a scene like, you know, half an hour later where it's like, you know, Keanu Reeves like being chased through a shower while like accordion music plays, and it's like it doesn't match up really at all. And and you know, I like some of the performances. I think Fred Ward, like, you know, his character is never likable in the movie and everything, but I think he does like at least try to make this like seething rage case like, you know, human and everything. I mean, I think he's like really he's legitimately scary, and like he is genuinely scary in that scene where he's, you know, attacking Bonnie Bedelia and everything. Like the like veins are like bulging in his neck and everything, but he's also like so pathetic in the way that like he's just like, you know, kind of like just flinging stuff all over the place with no real like kind of direction and everything. Like he just doesn't really know. This is like a guy who just doesn't know how to process his emotions, and like except in like the worst way possible. And he's I mean, look, again, the movie doesn't have a handle on its tone, but he's funny when, like, you know, he's in the kidnapping situation where, like, you know, Keanu Reeves busts into the room and if Ward sees that it's him and he's like, hey, it's great to see you and everything. Like, it takes him, like, the fact that it takes him so long to figure out that, like, his son has kidnapped him is really funny. Yeah, I don't know. There's just, like, and, you know, Nice Friend are talking about, like, how this movie, like, it probably was personal because, like, he grew up in a coal mining town in Pennsylvania as a kid. Like, you get, like, some finely observed details, like, in that milieu in the movie when, like, you're actually in the mining workplace with, like, you know, all the stuff that's, like, hung up on, like, the hooks and, like, you know, the guy who, like, checks their names and, you know, like, there's, like, pictures of, like, scantily clad women posted up in, like, the underground area. It's just, like, so it looks like kind of like a dreary hangout, but, like, there isn't really much of a sense of place, like, elsewhere in the movie. Like, it's weird when, like, Keanu Reeves like shows up to his high school and we're just supposed to kind of like, and like they kind of just like say how like what his relationship is to all the other teens and everything, where it's like, oh, you haven't shown up to school in a while and you're kind of weird and these kids don't like you and everything. It's like that's not exactly how it is and everything, but it is like kind of just like, it feels weird because the movie has like such a limited scope of this place as a place, and it's just like weird to see him interacting with other people outside of the main cast in the movie. Yeah, and like I said, like the biker gang who just like pops in and out of the movie when it's like most convenient. Yeah, I don't know. I know this is kind of rambling. Yeah, it just I don't know. There's stuff I my interest was occasionally grabbed by like certain scenes. You know, I think it's definitely the performers, I think, find like a lot of like nice grace notes in some of the quieter interactions in the movie, but the overall plot just doesn't really work, and I don't think the characters are well written enough for the performers to save the movie. And Nice Runner's direction, like, it's functional, like, it's competently, like, it's like the shots are in focus, and like, you know, it's not like, you know, overly dark or like overly lit, but
the shots were in focus.
I know. As soon as I said, I'm like, geez, that sounds like way meaner than it should. But
can you guys believe it that they shot this for 30 days? Everybody showed up. That's great.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's kind of it's a miss, but there's like at least like a couple of things in it that work. Yeah, it doesn't work overall though. Sorry, I will pass it off to Charlie now.
Charlie kept cutting you off because he has so much to say.
Yeah.
So thank God he has the floor.
It's just adding to everything that you already said. I feel like, I agree with you. It's not the worst thing ever. It's better than some movies where I just don't have anything to say at all about these some movies that we've covered. Where I'm just, but like at the same time, it's just, it's. I think what was frustrating is you got a great collection of actors who never really got their due, apart from Keanu Reeves, in kind of this weird independent comedy, and it feels like every scene just kind of starts. Every scene hints that it's going to build to something kind of daring or subversive or something, and then it just kind of stops. Like every plot line's like, okay, we'll kidnap the dad. Oh, that doesn't really go where it's supposed to, but it doesn't really go anywhere interesting either. Okay, well then, what if Beverly Bedelia's into it, and then it's just like, and then we can sell the land. Oh, they sold the land already. Oh, without telling you. Oh, okay.
Guess I'll go back to my husband.
Let's say just back to the drawing board. What about his relationship with Amy Madigan? Oh, that doesn't really go anywhere either. It's just like everything is like there. It kind of hooks you, and then just doesn't really. And it's kind of the same with the comedy, where they kind of set certain things up. Where like, you know, there's scenes where Amy Madigan's wearing the Freddy Krueger mask and is like got stuff written down on the plates and stuff like that. And it's kind of cute at first, and you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of funny. But then there's no real payoff to it, or there's no real momentum. It's just sort of there. And you're kind of like, okay, this isn't like terrible, but this is also just not, it's kind of nothing. It's too vague and weird and tonally all over the place. I mean, there's some real, the relationship that Fred Ward has with Beverly Bedelia is like, oh, there's some dark undercurrents of like, you know, physical abuse happening clearly, and and emotional abuse. Never really the focus of the movie, but also an undercurrent, but never really a priority either. And yeah, I mean, like both of you said, we don't really know why Keanu is so angsty. Of course, teenagers are angsty, as we have all said, but really all the character development is in his hair. like that's all you need to know. Like, look at that kid's hair.
He's a changed man.
Yeah, like
he went to the scrapyard, found a bunch of beatniks, got his hair cut.
Yeah.
And then he went to church.
It does make me think, I think someone, when the movie Cherry came out a few years ago, people like shared like 4 different screenshots of Tom Holland, and this was like, the range, can't believe this was all the same actor. And then someone said, like, is this guy just got a haircut and grew a mustache? Like, I think someone like made that tweet.
The range of waiting, I don't know, like a month.
Yeah. I don't know, it just felt like the equivalent of every scene kind of builds and builds and builds, and then someone sits on a whoopee cushion, and then it cuts to another scene. Like, I don't know.
I would love if that actually happened, though. Fred Ward, we kidnapped you. Sit on that chair. Not that chair.
Your husband sold the land without telling you. oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah, and like there are certain characters that feel like they should matter, like the fact that like, you know, Keanu Reeves has like a younger brother who's like much more obedient and seems to have like a closer relationship with his dad. But like he's present like during the scene where like, you know, Reeves is like fighting with Ward in like the pool, like where they've thrown the VCR in there and everything, and like the son is like watching there in the background, and I think that's actually like a nice understated detail of him just like sort of sitting there passively, not really knowing what to do, because, you know, he's a kid and everything. But then like in the movie, he just like kind of is there, like just like to, I don't know, get stuff out of the fridge, and like he's not really like doing anything. It's, again, the movie just like there's interesting stuff at the, like that could be there, and it just like doesn't do anything. I'm cutting into what you're saying though. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I completely agree, and I honestly don't have that much to say about this movie other than everything kind of just played exactly the same. Of, okay, where are we gonna go with this? Nowhere. Okay, maybe this next scene will. Oh, yeah, all right. And then it just kind of gives up. It just kind of ends. Like,
yeah, and well, it's interesting that Nyswainer wrote Smithereens, which like where that movie just stopping is like so powerful and everything, because it's like a character who's just like constantly on the go, and then like they're just so defeated at the end of the movie where it's like they don't know where they're gonna go next and everything. Whereas this, the ambiguity of like, well, I don't know, I guess I'm just going to wherever and everything. You're just like, that's just lazy. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like you just haven't thought it out very well.
Now, what am I supposed to do with all this? Yeah, it's kind of what I walked away with. Where I was just like, all right, I guess.
Job well something.
Yeah.
I will say the one thing I noticed is that when they're in the mine, when they open and close the doors, it's the same noise you hear when you open and close the door in Wolfenstein 3D. So that was cool for me. I was like, oh shit, Nazis. Oh wait, no, it's just Fred Ward. Let's do the plot. Rupert Marchetta, 2 for 10 on the weekends, is the black sheep son of a miner, precocious and misunderstood. He is frustrated with his parents, Gary and Pam, has dropped out of high school and doesn't fit in with the other teens of the town. He's got the biker gang. What are you talking about?
Yeah, he doesn't ever seem like he's just like, nobody understands me or something like that. He seems
It's all old people, like, that are just like, what am I supposed to do? Just like Fred Ward calling him like your son and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just all old people. Like, even the girl at the dance who's like taking tickets or whatever the fuck, like, seems to like him or something like that.
Well, she likes him until he gets her dress all yucky with whatever's on him or something. But
sure,
yeah. And like the neighbor too, the neighbors who's like where the husband like is having an affair with Bonnie Bedelia. He gives her like the flowers, and she doesn't even seem all that like she doesn't seem that fazed by like his haircut. And I think he like gives her flowers, and she's like, "Oh, thanks, Rupert," and everything. Whereas like Fred Ward's like, "Son, we need to talk."
Oh, yeah. He's like, "Sorry, Dad, I can't hear you over my fucking motorcycle." Rupert is also in love with an older woman, the free-spirited Carla, who operates a rundown roadside ice cream kiosk, which, isn't that just the dream?
Question. How old is Keanu Reeves supposed to be in this movie? Because he's dropped out of high school.
No.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, like, is this, like, kind of icky for him to be, like, having a relationship with Amy Madigan when she's, like, 30-something and he's... But then, I'm not, like, saying what the actors did, because, like, the Keanu Reeves is, like, what, 24 when he made this? But, like, I'm like, is he supposed to be, like, 18? Or, like, you know, maybe a couple years older? Like, I don't know. It's... Whatever. It's not super important. I just, like, it's a thought that came to my mind.
It's
not important as a plot point either.
It certainly, raises an eyebrow, but then the movie kind of just keeps going and doesn't really deal with the weight of it or anything. Yeah.
Carla also has a young daughter with her ex-boyfriend Joe, a state trooper. That's important. One day, Gary tells Rupert he sees himself as the king of Pennsylvania, his wife as the queen, and Rupert as the prince who will inherit his kingdom. What kingdom is that? I do not know.
Well, and again, it's like this stuff doesn't really matter. I'm sorry I'm cutting in. It's just like I do like to talk about the things that are good in this movie. I think the scene where like Ward says like that his dad couldn't give him anything and he wants to give everything to his son, and then like his son says, and then Reese says he doesn't want anything. Like the hurt that's like in like Ward's eyes when he gets that. Again, like he's not a sympathetic character because he's a bad dad and a bad husband, but like it is like that sort of like wounded humanity that he brings to like that response and everything, where he's like, oh man, my fucking kid doesn't like me and everything. It is like really, that moment is like moving to me at least, in like an isolated sort of sense. Sorry, again, I'll try to keep my
You're fine.
interjections to
You're supposed to cut in with the plot, because if not, I'm just saying the plot of Prince of Pennsylvania.
And then we're just saying words.
Both father and son know that Pam has been sleeping with young miner Jack Syke. Young miner as in, that's what he does as a miner.
I know, like out of if you're not looking at the word itself, it sounds completely different.
Who has a newborn baby with his wife. Gary,
can we talk about the scene where that affair is revealed? Because we were talking about how that's like so bizarre, where like
it's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time.
Reeves like follows her like on his motorcycle. He waits for her car to pass. He follows her to the trailer park where he and Ward are visiting. He like gets behind like a tree and like has like a what looks like a radio and like headphones on, and like he locks in and he like presumably like sits there and like listens to his mom and this guy like having sex and everything. And I'm thinking, first off, why does he have that trailer mic'd up and everything so he can like listen in on it? Also, why does he listen to his mom have sex with this guy and everything? Like, I mean, he's there for like a little bit, and like the sex gets like botched. It gets delayed by like the crying of the kid and everything. They tend to that, then they go back to it. I'm like, so is he just like sitting there listening to his mom like bang this guy and everything? Like, it's super weird, and the movie doesn't like return to it or explain why he has that place mic'd up in the first place. It just like it's so weird that that's in the movie.
Does he have it mic'd up, or is it one of those things where like you can hear from really far away?
I mean, he has like a radio and like he has headphones that he like listens to, but like I don't know what that means or anything. Like, you know, it's not like, why would like the radio pick that up, or like.
That's true.
Although
I'm debating which one is less creepy, and they're both creepy, so who cares?
Yeah.
I didn't bug the place. I just have a way that I can listen to somebody from like 100 meters away.
And that somebody happens to be my mother.
Yeah. That would be very funny if like the baby crying interrupts it, and he's just like, shit, god damn it. Now I'm gonna listen to his babies. I was trying to hear my mom fuck. Gary owns land left by his father, but has no intention of selling it. An increasingly frustrated Rupert, who has no plans to follow his father into mining, schemes with Carla to kidnap his father for $200,000, the amount the land is worth, and use the ransom money to escape the town and live together.
And this is after the father has found out, because there's an explosion at the mine. And like when it seems like they're about to die, Jack tells Gary that like, oh yeah, I've been sleeping with your wife and everything, because he thinks like, well, we're about to die, so like, you know, might as well get this off my chest. And then they survive. And then there's the scene where Ward goes home with his wife, and he's like just being super reserved, and then like he slaps her around and throws at the VCR, and then Rupert witnesses this. I feel like that's kind of like the thing that drives him to like, you know, hatch this kidnapping plan. Also the fact that like his dad is like, you know, that forces him to work in the mine, which is something that like, you know, his mom Pam, sorry, I had to check her name, that Pam didn't want him to do, and that he doesn't want to do. He looks, and it is like one of the more striking shots in the movie when I think it's like, you know, you get like red and blue lighting as like, you know, Keanu's just like in the close up, like, you know, going down into the mine. Keanu Reeves, I don't know Keanu Reeves. I need to talk about him on a first name basis.
I know what you mean, but I feel like he is one of the few celebrities where you say Keanu and nobody would be offended. Like that's just kind of, everybody kind of refers to him as Keanu.
Sorry, Rupert. Oh, okay, I know who you're talking about.
Rupert. Mr. What's his last name again?
Marchetta.
Or Mr. Marchetta.
Nice Wainer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it is interesting that whenever he comes into the house after Fred Ward is left with the VCR and Bonnie Bedelia is like at the kitchen table, the first thing he asks is, "Did he hit you?" Which makes it seem like this is not the first time this has happened.
Certainly not. Yeah.
Yeah. The duo successfully kidnapped Gary, and he is held in a trailer. This is leaving out the entire part where he's just like, all right, aim him out again. I'm going to put like a fake beard on you, and you're going to have like a tape recorder that has said a few things my dad has said, you know, that whole thing. And then people are going to see me, you know, making out with you, and people are going to have a lot of questions.
And I'm gonna put, what is that he puts? Is it like sleeping pills that he puts in the coffee and anything?
Yeah, something like that.
And he accidentally drinks from like the wrong thermos. And that is like kind of a funny scene where he's like, you know, you're like, you tired,
no, it's my
Dad?
thermos. It's the principle of it.
Yeah. And then like, yeah.
But it doesn't really add up to anything other than, oh shit, he drank half of my, he accidentally drank half of mine, which means I accidentally drink half of his. Guess I'm gonna conk out for 45 minutes at the very most. But like, that doesn't really, it's weird. I don't know. Like, there's not really a joke there.
Well, it is funny that he drinks half of it, and his dad presumably drinks the other half of it, and Keanu Reeves passes out, but he's able to wake up, and like, his dad's just just
no,
out.
he's like he's like hallucinating that he's like back in Vietnam, and, like,
yeah,
with like a sex worker. Like,
yeah, it's like, it's so
in an opium den. It's
so sweaty.
Yeah, like
he soon tells his mother, who agrees to go along with this, as Rupert says she can have half the money so that she and Jack can abandon their families and run off together. However, Rupert and Pam learn that Gary sold the land for cash a week earlier with no information on where he put the money. That whole thing, you know, when your dad just like sells off land and just doesn't tell you about it. Rupert and Carla take Gary to the mine and held him near a portable toilet. They're called porta potties, Wikipedia. Rupert eventually thinks the money has been hidden in the toilet, which is chained closed. He prepares dynamite to blow up the that is such an overreaction.
I'm sorry, but can you imagine like being in a beach, like, hey, I gotta use the bathroom, where should I go? Oh, use one of them portable toilets.
Oh, a garage. What do you call it? A car hole.
Car hole.
Use one of those portable toilets and be like, am I in a simulation? Am I in the Stepford Husbands right now? Dynamite. Not even like get a chain breaker, you know, what those things are called, you know. Dynamite. full ass dynamite.
Yeah.
There is like a scene I think where like the dynamite, like the words dynamite are like in there, or like, you know, like on full display, like the background behind someone's head, and I was thinking, well, that's got to come to play in like in some way later on, and then it does, and I'm like, fucking do it.
Well, yeah, there's the red herring where he's like, Dad, do you ever think about like dynamite? Rupert eventually blah blah blah, but mine rescue workers and police arrive on the scene, warning that the mine's high levels of methane gas will trigger a massive explosion once the dynamite goes off. Although Gary is able to pull his son to safety, Carla is presumed dead in the blast. I don't think anybody's watching this movie thinking that Carla has blown up and died.
Yeah.
And it's very funny. He's just like, Carla, and then he's just like, all right, gotta leave, I guess. The most bullshit thing. The next day, Gary and Pam have reconciled. I don't know why or how.
It all happened off screen. Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yep.
You can reconcile with your wife that you abuse as long as you just like, you know, rest your head on her stomach. Like his mom was like so down for Keanu as the lead singer of the Flock of Seagulls to kidnap the dad, and now they're just back together. It's just bullshit. But Rupert runs away and is surprised to find that Carla is still alive, but only Joe knows. They too have reconciled and are leaving for Sacramento to be closer to her daughter. A heartbroken Rupert hugs Carla goodbye and says would rather be handcuffed to a fridge than talk to her ever again. It's just the actual lines of dialogue. After Carla and Joe drive away, Rupert walks along the road and encounters a low female biker girl he befriended earlier. He accepts her offer for a ride to Pittsburgh. This is leaving out the great line where she asks, who is he? He says, I used to be a prince.
Cut to
and
black.
I was like, don't do it. Credits, don't roll. We're not done here. And the credits are like, I'm sorry, man. We're done. And scene. Yeah. I will say I watched this on the Roku channel, which is where you watch all fine films. And when it was over and I got back to the main splash page, the background image for it was for Foxcatcher.
What?
Which I think the documentary about it is called The Prince of Pennsylvania.
Oh. Okay.
Imagine you're trying to watch Foxcatcher and you're just like, why do I give a shit about Keanu Reeves' haircut?
You might like
thought this was about wrestling.
You might like Foxcatcher. Yeah, Pennsylvania's the only thing those things have in common. Channing Tatum doesn't have any hair.
Fred Ward is in this. Where's Steve Carell and his nose? What's going on?
I like that movie, but is that like kind of an insufferable Steve Carell performance?
I haven't seen it. I don't know.
Did you catch the fox, mother?
I will defend a lot of Steve Carell performances. Him in The Big Short, really good.
Like Foxcatcher the movie. I just think Steve Carell it's overacting a little bit. But
I should rewatch it. I haven't seen it in like almost 10 years.
I think Mark Ruffalo and Channing Tatum are fucking
they're great.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Does it feel like Steve Carell was just like a drama movie? Do you know what they give drama movies? Oscars.
A fake nose, you say? Nicole Kidman got one of them Oscars for wearing one of these last time. Yeah. Jesus, I just took the cheapest fucking route.
I mean, well, Maestro, but...
That is funny, though, to imagine Steve Carell not knowing what a drama is. Someone having to explain it to him.
So is there like...
What is this
drama? He's just on the this is Foxcatcher. He's like, I'm not seeing a lot of dick jokes in the script. What's going on here?
He gets to the end of the script. This is not funny?
Yeah. I thought catching the fox would be like really funny, but it's kind of sad. Makes me feel things. You ever feel bad? This is what this movie does. Why would anybody want to go see this? What if it was about a guy who can't get laid? Do we have anything else about the Prince of Pennsylvania?
Not really. But you know, it is interesting to watch these movies with like, you know, really famous people like Keanu Reeves and everything who have gone on to be like in, you know, give on being like.
I'm sorry, I just thought you were gonna say it's really nice to watch movies that start famous people.
Yes, especially actors I like and everything, but also just to see like how their screen personas have like sort of changed over the years, where they're still kind of finding that. But yes, I mean, isn't that what movies are all about?
You're telling me those people in the Us magazine are in movies? Hold up. I mean, I do love watching movies where I'm just like, this doesn't look that interesting. Wait, so-and-so and so-and-so is in it? Yeah, I'll watch this garbage. So,
Well, it's interesting to watch movies in which you know who these people might be. I know that... Yeah.
Just watching a movie with like like an indie movie with like no famous people, and you just pause and you go, "Who are you?" Like yell at your TV.
thank you for listening to this week's episode of Almost Major. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Please follow the pod on Twitter at Almost Major to keep up to date with what movies we will be covering in the future. Myself, I can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at KevBonesy. Bryden can be found on Twitter at Bryden Doyle and on Letterboxd at JDoyle. Charlie can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at CTNash91. Once again, thank you for listening.